Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a land so cold, so unforgiving that your breath freezes before it leaves your lips. Where the ground itself is harder than stone and the wind cuts like 1,000 tiny knives, slicing through every layer of clothing you wear. This is not a story about winter in your hometown. This is Yakutia, the farthest reaches of the Russian frontier where the sun barely rises in winter, and when it does, it casts a pale, timid light across endless snow and ice. Can you feel it? The bitter sting of the air, the sharp crunch of frozen ground beneath heavy boots. Families huddle inside their homes, wooden and insulated, battling temperatures that drop to 70 degrees below zero. 70 degrees, it's more than cold, it's a challenge. A test of human endurance and spirit, and yet life persists. Children laugh muffled behind thick scarves. The scent of firewood curls through the air, and mothers move quietly, tending to daily chores that never stop, no matter how the frost bites. Fathers prepare for the hunt, stepping into the frozen world outside with only determination and survival skills honed over generations. Every day here is a story, every night a struggle. And every family a testament to resilience. How did they do it? How did they survive the coldest nights known to man? This is not just history. This is human will frozen in time, a world of ice and warmth tangled together. Stay with me, step into this frozen frontier. Feel the wind, hear the crackle of fire, and discover the extraordinary life of those who call this icy wilderness home. Close your eyes, just for a moment. Picture a land where the wind bites through every layer of clothing you own. A place where your breath freezes the instant it leaves your lips. Where snow stretches endlessly in every direction, unbroken except for the occasional skeletal tree or frozen river. Welcome to Yakutia, the farthest reaches of the Russian frontier, where winter isn't a season, it is life itself. The cold here isn't just a temperature, it's a presence. A living, breathing entity that pushes against your chest, gnaws at your fingers, creeps into your bones. You feel it the moment you step outside your door. Even the ground beneath your boots is hard as stone, slick with frost that glints like glass in the pale sunlight. 70 degrees below zero, let that sink in. It's not just cold, it's extreme. And yet life persists. Families huddle inside wooden homes, layered with insulation, firewood stacked high, every log a lifeline. Children peep out from behind thick scarves, eyes wide and cheeks red, their small breaths fogging the air. Mothers move quietly, tending to the never-ending chores, the rhythmic tasks that are survival disguised as habit. Fathers step into the frozen world outside, knowing every step could bring frostbite, but also knowing that if they fail, the family starves, the animals suffer, the home freezes. And still, the laughter of children echoes faintly through the icy air. The faint crackle of fire drifts from chimneys, a soft counterpoint to the shriek of the wind. Life here is quiet, yes, but it is alive, and it demands respect. The frozen landscape step outside and you are swallowed by silence. Not the kind of silence that soothes, but a weighty, pressing quiet. The snow stretches endlessly, and underfoot, the frozen ground snaps and groans. Trees, mostly birches, stand like skeletons against the sky, their branches trembling with frost. You hear the wind weaving through them, sometimes a whisper, sometimes a howl that steals your breath. The sky is relentless, pale gray, heavy, watching. Sometimes it carries a hint of blue or the faint gold of the sun barely peeking over the horizon, but mostly it is gray, endless gray. And in this gray you feel small, insignificant. The world is vast, cold, and unmoving, and yet people live here, thrive here, temperature is always present. Degrees C may feel like minus 70 degrees C when the wind cuts across open plains. A single misstep, a lapse in concentration, and frostbite takes hold faster than you realize. Even the simplest task, lighting a fire, breaking ice for water, feeding the animals, is monumental. Every action carries weight, every step demands attention. Seasonal rhythms and the long night winter here isn't measured in days but in darkness. The sun rises late, sets early, and when it does, it casts only a pale, timid light. Days are short. Nights are endless, and with darkness comes silence. The kind of silence that presses against your chest, that makes your own heartbeat feel loud. Families plan meticulously for these months. Food is preserved in cellars, frozen solid, salted, dried, sometimes smoked. Ice blocks function as refrigeration. Wood is cut, stacked, and seasoned in advance. Every chore is survival disguised as routine, but winter doesn't respect planning. Storms arrive unannounced. Snow drifts, bury fences, block roads, isolate houses. Children watch from windows as their parents disappear into blizzards, returning hours later, faces raw from the cold, bodies stiff but spirits unbroken. Each storm is a test, each blizzard a story. Settlements and human ingenuity. Frontier settlements here weren't built for comfort. They were carved from necessity and courage. Logs stacked carefully, roofs insulated, fireplaces central to survival. Generations learned how to thrive where most would perish. Families worked together. Fathers hunted, mothers managed the home, children helped where they could. Communities formed tight bonds. Isolation could last days, even weeks. Without neighbors, without shared knowledge, survival was uncertain. Families exchanged food, labor, and warmth. Humanity here was as essential as fire itself. A glimpse inside a homestep. Inside one of these frontier homes, the first thing you notice is warmth. Not the kind that comes from technology, but from the simple crackle of firewood, from close bodies, from meals prepared with care. Heavy blankets cover floors and beds. Thick scarves hang by doors. The smell of cooking meat, of boiling water, of burning wood fills every corner. Children huddle in a corner, listening as elders speak. One tells the story of a blizzard that lasted 3 days straight. Another recalls a hunt that nearly went wrong. Their voices are calm but carry tension, each story a lesson, a warning, a legacy. Even in warmth, the danger outside is never far. Dialogue example: "Papa, the wind is so loud tonight," whispers little Anya, clutching her scarf around her face. Her father pauses, staring into the fire, eyes shadowed with worry. "Yes, it is, Anya, but we are safe here, inside, together, and that is what matters." Her mother places a hand on Anya's shoulder. "The storm outside is fierce, but inside we are stronger, always." Anya nods slowly, feeling the truth of it. The storm rages, but the family persists. Love and resilience are thicker than ice. The people behind the survival. Every family has their story. Grandparents recall treks across frozen rivers to fetch medicine. Mothers remember keeping children awake with stories during endless storms. Fathers remember nights spent hunting in blizzards, returning with frozen limbs but full hearts. The cold tests every human instinct. It demands alertness, courage, and patience, and yet laughter still escapes. Children still play, muffled by layers of clothing, carving snow forts and racing across frozen plains. The fire crackles, the wind howls, and life continues stubbornly, beautifully. When the first part of the day ends, the long Arctic night begins. Darkness creeps across the landscape, swallowing every tree, every snowdrift, every distant hill. But inside the frontier homes, life pulses with quiet intensity. Mothers stir in kitchens, balancing pots over the flickering flames. Fathers check the logs stacked near the door, ensuring that if the storm rages outside, warmth will still find its way inside. Children curl up in corners, half asleep, half listening to stories that weave history, survival, and family pride into one. The day may have been routine, but in this land, routine is survival. Even something as simple as lighting the fire demands patience. A misstep, a spark that goes unnoticed, and the whole room could be shrouded in smoke. Every movement is deliberate. Every breath measured, and yet within this careful choreography, laughter finds its place. Daily life in extreme cold morning comes slowly. Not with the sun, but with the faintest hint of gray on the horizon. Children stir under thick blankets. Their breaths fog the room as they climb out, teeth chattering, scarves wrapped tight. Mothers call them to the stove, the warmth of porridge or tea offering the first comfort of the day. Fathers leave the safety of their homes to hunt, to check on animals, to gather wood. They move silently, efficiently, each step a balance of caution and necessity. Animals play a central role in survival. Reindeer, dogs, and sometimes horses provide food, clothing, and help with transport. Families know every habit, every quirk of their animals, because understanding them can mean the difference between life and death in this unforgiving cold. Children are taught early, learning the responsibilities that will one day fall on their shoulders. Even chores are a lesson in endurance. Breaking ice for water, chopping firewood, tending to livestock, all are tasks that demand strength, patience, and resilience. And yet, they are interwoven with moments of joy. A child slips and laughs in the snow. A neighbor stops by with a gift of smoked fish. A fire crackles a little louder, warming not just the home but hearts. Survival strategies and ingenuity. Survival here is a daily experiment, a mixture of instinct and inherited knowledge. Food is never taken for granted. Every scrap is valuable. Ice is carefully harvested and stored. Techniques for preserving meat, fish, and dairy have been refined over generations. Clothing is more than fabric. Layers are essential. Furs, wools, and hand-sewn garments protect against the wind and frost. A single layer missing, a seam weak, and the cold can claim fingers, toes, or worse. Families maintain their clothing meticulously, repairing, patching, reinforcing year after year. Homes are designed to trap warmth. Thick logs, layered insulation, carefully placed fireplaces. Windows are double or triple layered with cloth or frost-resistant panes. Ventilation is controlled. Firewood is always at hand. And when blizzards rage, these homes are sanctuaries, small islands of warmth in an endless sea of white. Dialogue and human emotion. Mama, do we have enough firewood? Little Ivan asks, eyes wide, voice barely above the crackle of the fireplace. His mother glances at the stack near the door, the logs neatly aligned. More than enough, my son. Remember, we prepare for storms not to fear them, but to live through them. His father sits nearby, sharpening a hunting knife, eyes thoughtful. Every day here is a gift. The cold teaches us to value warmth, to value life, to value each other. You'll understand when you grow older. Ivan nods slowly, feeling the weight of those words. Outside, the wind howls, threatening, relentless. Inside, he feels safety, love, and the quiet courage that his family has carried for generations. Stories of extraordinary courage, stories of bravery are common here. Not the kind that make headlines, but the kind that fill the long nights with lessons. A grandmother once carried her grandson across a frozen river to reach a doctor. A father spent hours tracking a lost reindeer through a blizzard, returning exhausted but triumphant. Mothers have stayed awake for days, tending to sick children during storms, weaving warmth and comfort from small gestures. Each story is a reminder that survival is not just about endurance, it is about ingenuity, love, and persistence. The frozen frontier may seem desolate, but it is alive with human spirit. Every action, every step, every careful decision contributes to a delicate balance between life and the relentless cold. Children and daily joys. Even in this harsh environment, children find ways to play. Snowdrifts become castles, ice becomes sled tracks. Laughter echoes across the frozen plains, muffled by scarves, by snow, but unmistakable. Their games are not just fun, they are training. Lessons in balance, resilience, and patience. Schooling is adapted to the environment. Lessons may be short, timed around daylight and temperature, but education continues. Reading, writing, learning about the world outside, these are as essential as food and warmth. Teachers themselves often live with the families, sharing in the daily challenges, teaching more than academics. They teach courage, resourcefulness, and respect for nature. Community and shared survival. Isolation is a constant threat. A family alone faces peril if a storm hits, but communities provide strength. Neighbors share food, labor, advice. Celebrations are small but significant. A shared meal, a storytelling night, a visit to a distant relative. Human connection here is as vital as firewood. It fuels the spirit even when the body is cold. Reflections on the frozen frontier. The frozen frontier teaches lessons that warmth and comfort cannot. Patience, respect for nature, ingenuity, love, and perseverance. Here, families huddle close, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Life is precious, fragile, and fleeting. Every log on the fire, every scarf wrapped tightly, every story shared is a thread in the fabric of survival. The wind howls outside, snow drifts build higher, darkness stretches across the plains. Yet inside, fire crackles, children sleep, parents watch, and the human spirit endures quietly, steadily, magnificently. This is the frozen frontier, a world of ice, danger, and beauty. And in it, humans have not just survived, they have lived, loved, and thrived.
Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the first hint of cold creeping across the land. The leaves are gone, the rivers are hardening, and every breath of air tastes sharp and metallic. This is the signal, the call to prepare. In the frozen frontier, preparation is survival. It is not a matter of choice. It is a matter of life and death. Families begin months in advance. The first task? Food. Every harvest, every catch, every foraged root is examined, cleaned, and stored with meticulous care. Mothers sort through root vegetables, checking for bruises, decay, or weakness. Nothing wasted, they whisper, as if the snow itself might hear. Berries are dried in the warm glow of the hearth, herbs tied into bundles and hung from rafters, fish salted, smoked, or frozen into ice blocks that serve as makeshift refrigerators. Children watch, learning the unspoken rhythm of survival. One small slip, one miscalculation, and the food that sustains a family for months could be lost. Yet, in this careful dance there is rhythm, there is purpose, there is pride. The methods are simple, yet precise. Drying, salting, smoking, freezing. They are not mere chores. They are traditions passed down for generations. Each family has its secrets. A pinch of salt here, a careful layering there, a slow smoke that fills the cabin with aroma and promise. Mama, why do we hang the berries so high? Little Ivan asks, shivering in the doorway. His mother smiles, eyes crinkling with patience. Because the air is drier up there and the birds can't reach. It's how we make sure there is food when the snow comes. You'll understand one day. The children nod, absorbing every motion, every gesture. They are learning to feed themselves before the snow buries the land, learning to preserve life while the wind howls outside. Next comes clothing, layers upon layers, each serving a purpose. Wool for warmth, furs for insulation, thick mittens and scarves to protect the extremities. These garments are not fashion, they are armor. Every stitch, every seam, every lining matters. Fathers teach sons how to wrap themselves tightly, how to walk without losing warmth, how to layer and adjust depending on the wind. Mothers show daughters the art of sewing, mending, and patching worn garments. A single hole, a loose seam, can let frostbite claim fingers or toes in minutes. Children play among the piles of clothing, laughing despite the cold creeping through the cabin. The layers are cumbersome, but each one is a shield, a promise of safety in the storm. Animals are both companions and lifelines. Reindeer, dogs, and sometimes horses provide warmth, transportation, and sustenance. Families study their behaviors, their habits, and their needs. A sick or weak animal could mean disaster. Feeding them, grooming them, understanding them. It is all part of winter preparation. Fedor, make sure the reindeer shelter is strong, the father calls to his eldest son. If the roof collapses in a storm, we lose more than animals. We lose food, we lose warmth, we lose hope. The boy nods, hauling logs carefully, learning the weight of responsibility. Even children know that survival is shared, that human life is bound with the animals that accompany it. Home preparation and insulation. Homes themselves are living entities. Wooden logs, thick insulation, fireplaces at the heart of every room. Every corner is evaluated. Windows are sealed, doors reinforced, roofs checked for leaks. Families move through their homes slowly, deliberately, ensuring that warmth stays where it matters and cold stays outside. Fireplaces are the heartbeats of these homes. Wood is split, stacked, dried. The fire must be constant, never allowed to falter. One careless moment, one sudden storm, and a room can turn into a frozen tomb. Mama, I'm scared of the snow tonight, whispers Anya, clutching her fur scarf close. Her mother pulls her close. It is scary, yes, but we prepare. We protect ourselves, and we have each other. That is stronger than any storm. Her father steps in, eyes thoughtful, voice calm. Every log, every stitch, every piece of food we store, it is our armor. But remember, the greatest armor is love, and together, nothing can freeze us completely. Anya nods slowly, feeling the weight of the cold outside, but also the warmth of her family inside.
Preparation here is more than practical. It is ritual. Families follow a rhythm that matches the seasons.
Each day is measured, timed, and purposeful.
Morning light is used for chores that require visibility.
The coldest hours are reserved for indoor work. Sewing, repairing tools, organizing food stores. Even leisure is purposeful. Stories told by elders teach children about the storms, the animals, the survival strategies passed down through generations. Every task is interwoven with learning. Children do not just observe. They participate. Chopping small pieces of firewood, drying berries, brushing animals, helping mend clothes. It is a world where childhood and responsibility coexist, where survival is taught not with lectures, but with action. As the snow piles higher and the sun disappears earlier each day, the frozen frontier doesn't wait. Families move with deliberate care, each action layered with knowledge passed down for generations. The bitter winter is no longer coming. It is here, pressing against walls, windows, and bodies. The preparation must now transform into execution. Clothing refinement and layering. By now, every family member has their basic layers: woolens, furs, thick scarves, mittens, and boots carefully lined. But winter demands more than simple layers. Clothing is inspected meticulously, every stitch examined,
Seams reinforced, a hole patched, a fur brushed smooth, a mitten reshaped to fit snugly.
Mothers demonstrate techniques to the children. See, Anya, fold the seam like this. It keeps the warmth in and the frost out. The child nods, mimicking the careful motions, learning the delicate balance between protection and flexibility. Fathers check outer garments for wind resistance. Leather and treated furs act as shields against the relentless cold. Each layer serves a purpose, some for insulation, some for flexibility, some for emergency warmth if the fire fails. Clothing becomes more than fabric. It is armor, confidence, and life itself. Animals, too, require detailed attention. Reindeer, horses, dogs, they are not just companions. They are essential for survival. Their shelters are inspected, insulated with straw and furs. Water sources are broken from ice carefully, ensuring that no animal goes thirsty. Food is rationed and distributed with precision. Check the youngest reindeer, Fedor, the voice instructs, firm but patient. The cold can weaken them faster than we think. A sick animal can ruin a week's provisions. Children participate, brushing coats, feeding small amounts, learning observation and care. Each action teaches responsibility and empathy. Here, survival is not just about humans. It is shared with every living being that coexists in this frozen ecosystem. Insulated homes and fireplaces. The home is a fortress against the cold. Walls are checked for gaps, doors and windows sealed with cloth or frost-resistant panes. Roofs are reinforced against heavy snow. Every crack or opening can allow frost to creep in, silently and dangerously. Fireplaces are maintained constantly. Wood is chopped, split, and stacked. Fires are kindled with care. Embers managed to ensure longevity. Even small miscalculations, letting the fire die too quickly or stacking damp wood, can turn a warm room into a frozen chamber. Families gather around the fire, not just for warmth, but for connection. Meals are shared, stories told, lessons passed down. The fire is both physical and emotional sustenance, a glowing reminder that human ingenuity and care can combat even the harshest cold. Dialogue and family emotion. "Mama, the wind is louder tonight," whispers Ivan, peering from behind the fur of his blanket. His mother strokes his hair. "Yes, my son, but the wind is outside. Inside we are together. We are safe." His father adds, sharpening a small axe. "Every log we stack, every fur we prepare, every bit of food we store, it is all for you. For all of us. The storm is strong, yes, but we are stronger."
Ivan's eyes widen as he feels the truth of these words. Outside, the cold rages without mercy. Inside, the family breathes, plans, laughs quietly, and survives. Nighttime preparation and vigilance. As night falls, tasks continue. Fires are stoked. Animals checked one last time. Clothing adjusted to prevent frostbite during sleep. The cold does not rest.
and neither can the family entirely. Vigilance is a constant companion. Do not forget the water buckets, the mother reminds, her voice low but firm. Even one frozen bucket and the animals will suffer. Children, now tired from their day, help where they can. They carry small logs, brush the animals, ensure that every seam and layer is secure. Every action, though seemingly small, is critical. In the frozen frontier, small mistakes can have massive consequences. The bitter winter is a teacher. It demands patience, foresight, ingenuity, and above all, cooperation. Families must move as a unit, balancing individual tasks with collective survival. The cold is relentless, unforgiving, yet it sharpens human instincts, strengthens bonds, and fosters resilience. Even in the harshest conditions, laughter is found. A child slips on ice, and laughter echoes through the cabin. A neighbor arrives with a small gift of preserved food. Stories of past storms, narrowly survived hunts, and clever solutions to frozen water or broken tools are shared around the fire. These stories are more than entertainment. They are lifelines of wisdom. The first light of day is weak and pale. In the frozen frontier, morning doesn't announce itself with a golden sun. It creeps quietly, reluctantly, over snow-covered fields and frozen rivers. The wind is still sharp, cutting across the landscape like an invisible blade. Yet inside the homes, life stirs. Children wake slowly, blankets pulled tight around them, faces pink from the cold seeping through the cabin walls. Mothers call them softly, their voices carrying warmth into the dim light. Fathers rise early, checking the logs stacked near the door, making sure the fireplace will carry the family through the first icy hours. Every breath is careful, deliberate. Movement is measured, because even a small lapse can bring frostbite or injury. Morning routines and chores. Daily life begins with tasks both mundane and monumental. Water must be fetched, often broken free from thick ice. Firewood must be brought in and added to stoves. These simple tasks are survival, yet they form the rhythm of life in the cold. Vanya, the reindeer need fresh water. Hurry, a father calls, his voice carrying over the icy yard. Vanya, bundled in furs, trudges to the trough. The ice cracks beneath his weight, the sound echoing in the morning stillness. He carefully chips away frozen layers, topping off the water while thinking of the long day ahead. Every movement counts. Every action has consequences. Inside, mothers prepare breakfast over the flickering fire. Porridge simmers in thick pots, steam curling into the frosty air. Dried meat, smoked fish, and preserved berries are portioned carefully, the family mindful of the stores that must last for weeks. Children eat quickly, knowing the cold outside is waiting, and the tasks of the day will not wait for anyone. School and education. Education in the frontier is adapted to the environment. Schools are small, sometimes only a single room, where children learn reading, writing, arithmetic, and survival skills all at once. Lessons are short, timed around daylight and temperature. Teachers, often living with families, ensure children grasp not just academics, but practical knowledge essential for life in the cold. Today, we practice tracking reindeer, the teacher says, motioning to a snow-covered field outside. Notice their footprints, how they move, where they stop. This is how you will understand the animals and predict their movements. Children nod eagerly, understanding that knowledge here is survival. Mistakes can be costly, but learning is essential, and the snow becomes both classroom and teacher. Heating methods and fire management. Every home is centered around a fire, not just for warmth, but for life itself. Fireplaces must be tended constantly. Embers must be preserved. Wood must be dry and plentiful. A fire dying too quickly or faltering under damp wood can turn a cozy room into a frozen trap. Fathers check the stoves and fireplace daily, moving logs carefully, ensuring airflow, keeping the fire alive through gusting winds and icy nights. The flickering warmth is both physical and emotional, a reminder of human ingenuity and perseverance in the face of relentless cold. Never let the fire die, no matter how tired you are, a father instructs his children. It's not just warmth, it's life. Cooking and meal preparation. Cooking in the frozen frontier is a task of precision and patience.
Food must be preserved, portions carefully rationed, and meals often simple but calorie-rich to sustain energy.
Boiling water for tea or soup is a critical task.
Frozen water can crack pots or delay preparation.
Mothers work with practiced hands, stirring, seasoning, and watching the fire with careful attention.
Children assist by fetching water, chopping small pieces of wood, and learning the rhythms of domestic life that ensure survival.
Meals are eaten quickly, often in shifts, so that the fire can be maintained, animals fed, and chores completed. There is a quiet satisfaction in this efficiency, a recognition that life in the cold demands focus, discipline, and teamwork. "Mama, why is it so cold today?" little Anya asks, her cheeks red from the wind that slipped in through a gap in the door. Her mother smiles, brushing snow from her hair. "It is cold, yes, but we are prepared. Every log, every fur, every pot of food, we are ready." Her father joins, adjusting a thick scarf around her neck. "The cold will teach you patience, courage, and respect. It is harsh, but it also makes us stronger. Remember, the storm outside is dangerous, but inside, we are safe. Together." Anya nods slowly, taking in the warmth, the fire, and the feeling of safety that preparation brings. Hunting and fishing. Once the morning chores are done, hunting and fishing begin. Fathers and older children check traps, track animals, and fish in rivers partially frozen. The cold makes every task more difficult. Hands stiffen, rivers freeze, and storms can appear without warning. Hunting is not just sport, it is survival. Animals provide meat, furs, and tools essential for the coming weeks. Families follow careful strategies, observing tracks, predicting movements, and balancing risk with necessity. Fishing in icy rivers requires skill. Holes are cut through thick ice, lines carefully lowered, bait chosen for effectiveness in freezing temperatures. Even a single catch can sustain a family, while a missed opportunity can strain their stores. Livestock management. Animals are watched closely. Reindeer, horses, and dogs are fed, watered, and inspected for signs of weakness or illness. Every animal is vital. Each one contributes to warmth, food, and mobility. Families maintain a delicate balance. Animals must be healthy, well-fed, and strong enough to endure the bitter cold. Children participate under guidance, learning to observe subtle changes, noticing behavior shifts, and understanding that survival is interconnected with every living being around them. As the afternoon sun struggles to peek over the horizon, the cold deepens. Shadows stretch across the snow, and the wind whispers a warning through bare branches and frozen rivers. Families inside the frontier homes continue their routines, aware that every hour, every task, every careful movement is crucial for survival. The children return from school, still bundled in layers, their cheeks rosy, and faces bright with curiosity and energy. Homework is completed quickly, often beside the fire, while the aroma of simmering meals fills the room. Even in these moments of apparent calm, the rhythm of survival continues. Afternoon chores and responsibilities. Afternoons are for hands-on tasks, repairing clothing, tending animals, checking storage, and preparing for the long night ahead. Every chore carries weight, every action has purpose. "Ivan, the ice on the river is thinning," the father calls. "We need to adjust the fishing lines and check the traps." Ivan nods, stepping carefully across the snow. The river's surface glistens with frost, deceptively smooth. One misstep could result in a fall into the freezing water. Every movement requires attention. Every breath is measured. Inside, mothers continue cooking and preparing preserved foods for the coming days. Berries are checked for mold, meat is carefully packed, and vegetables are layered in storage boxes insulated with straw. Children assist, learning the rituals and patience required to maintain food stores through the harshest months. The frontier is unforgiving. Storms arrive without warning, bringing snow, wind, and darkness that can disorient even the most experienced tracker.
Families must be vigilant, adjusting chores and tasks based on weather conditions. "The wind is picking up," the mother warns, eyes on the horizon.
Make sure the animals are secure and the fire won't die if the door freezes shut. Fathers and older children move quickly, checking shelters, stacking extra firewood, and reinforcing doors. The storm is a constant reminder that survival is never passive, It demands preparation, adaptation, and collective effort. Evening routines and family interaction. As daylight fades, the home transforms into a haven of warmth and light. Fires glow, meals are shared, and stories are told. Every evening, families gather not just for sustenance, but for connection, comfort, and teaching. Today I saw the fox near the northern ridge, Ivan reports, voice full of excitement.
He slipped past the reindeer but didn't reach the traps. His father nods thoughtfully. Good observation, Ivan. Remember, the animals are clever. Learning their behavior keeps us prepared. Even small details matter. Children laugh, recounting adventures and minor mishaps. Their voices echo softly against the wooden walls, a stark contrast to the howling wind outside. The fire's warmth and the shared attention create a bond as vital as the clothes or food that protect them. Heating methods and fire maintenance. Evening routines demand attention to heating. Fires must be stoked regularly, ashes cleared, embers preserved, and fuel distributed to ensure the fire lasts through the night. One lapse could mean a frozen room, frostbite, or worse. Mothers often work alongside children, teaching them how to judge the fire, when to add wood, and how to position logs for maximum warmth. Watch the smoke, one mother instructs. It tells you if the fire is too weak or too strong. Every detail matters. The fire becomes the family heartbeat, a steady, comforting presence amid the icy silence outside. Water supply and cooking challenges. Buckets must be broken free from ice, transported without spilling, and heated for cooking or washing. Every pot of tea, every bowl of soup, every frozen root boiled into a meal requires effort and attention. Cooking is labor-intensive. Ingredients are carefully measured, portions rationed, and meals prepared to sustain energy through the long night. Children learn these skills through participation, understanding that food is not just nourishment, it is a critical component of life in the cold. Dialogue and human spirit. Mama, I heard the wind tearing across the hills, Anya whispers, huddling closer to the fire. Her mother smiles gently, brushing snow from her hair. Yes, my dear, but it is outside. We are safe. The fire, our home, and each other. These are stronger than the storm. Her father adds, adjusting logs on the fireplace. Every ember we protect, every log we stack, every meal we prepare, it is all for safety, for warmth, for life. The storm cannot touch what we have built together. Anya nods slowly, understanding not just the words, but the comfort and security that come from human care, foresight, and resilience. Hunting, fishing, and livestock management. Even as night approaches, some tasks must continue. Hunting parties check traps, ensuring that animals have been caught or that the snares remain intact. Fishing lines are monitored, especially in partially frozen rivers. Attention to detail is critical. A small error could mean a loss of food or warmth. Livestock must be checked again. Reindeer, horses, and dogs are fed, their shelters reinforced, water available, and blankets adjusted for warmth. Every animal's well-being affects human survival. Children watch, learn, and occasionally assist, absorbing lessons about responsibility, patience, and empathy. Reflections on daily life in the cold. Life in the frozen frontier is relentless. Every day blends survival with learning, duty with family, and cold with warmth. Children grow up quickly, learning skills through observation and participation. Adults balance chores with vigilance, teaching with patience, and maintaining hope through storms that outsiders could never imagine. Even in the harshest conditions, moments of joy exist. A shared meal, a story by the fire, laughter over small mistakes, or a glimpse of a fox outside, all create a rhythm and a sense of humanity that transcends the bitter cold. Preparation, observation, care, and connection. These are the pillars of daily life. The frontier teaches lessons that cannot be found elsewhere. Respect for nature, resourcefulness, courage, and the enduring warmth of family and community. The wind howls like a living thing across the frozen plains. Snow falls thick, covering every trace of yesterday, every footprint, every shadow. In the heart of this frozen wilderness, survival is a story that is written daily,
not in books, but in actions, struggles, and triumphs. Families here are the authors. Their chapters are etched in frostbitten hands, in fur-lined homes, in the quiet resilience of children learning the weight of the cold. These are not tales of heroism in grand battles. They are tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things to survive. Take the family of Sergei and Anya. Last winter, a blizzard struck without warning. Temperatures plunged to unimaginable lows. Winds shattered weak structures, and visibility dropped to near zero. Sergei and Anya had prepared as best they could. Firewood stacked, food preserved, animals secured, but the storm tested every precaution. We couldn't see the cabin from 50 feet away, Sergei recalls, voice steady but eyes distant. The snow was relentless. Every step was a challenge. Every movement could be fatal. Their children huddled inside, bundled in layers, as the wind battered the walls. The family lit every fire they had, taking shifts feeding embers, adjusting logs, and ensuring that warmth never faltered. Outside, the animals huddled in their insulated shelters. Inside, every heartbeat, every breath, was a testament to human perseverance. Blizzards are more than snow. They are a threat that can isolate, disorient, and even kill. Families develop strategies over generations. Windows are reinforced with cloth and wood. Doors are double sealed. Every task, even small, is critical. "Mama, I can't see anything," little Ivan said during one storm, shivering from fear as the wind howled like a wild beast. His mother pulled him close, whispering into his ear, "The storm is loud, yes, but it cannot harm us if we stay prepared. Trust in what we have done. Trust in each other." It is in these moments that lessons are learned, not from books, but from fear, courage, and practical wisdom. Children learn that preparation, observation, and patience are survival tools as much as fire, clothing, or food. Frostbite and physical challenges. Frostbite is an ever-present danger. Hands, feet, noses, ears, all vulnerable. Families learn to detect early signs: skin turning pale, tingling, numbness. Immediate action is required. Warming slowly, rubbing gently, ensuring the affected area is protected. "Fedor, your fingers." "Are they numb?" a mother asks, concern shadowing her face. Fedor flexes his fingers carefully. "A little, Mama, but it's okay." "No, it's not okay. We need to warm them now, or it will worsen. Quick." Every minor injury becomes a lesson in caution, every small recovery a victory. Human life in the frozen frontier is fragile, but knowledge, vigilance, and care strengthen it. Community support and shared knowledge. Survival is not just individual, it is communal. Neighbors help neighbors, sharing tools, food, and advice. Cultural traditions dictate that no one suffers alone. When storms strike, families gather, fires are shared, and resources pooled. The Andersons' roof collapsed in the storm, Sergei recalls. We helped them repair it. They had food to share, and we had extra wood. It was a struggle, yes, but together, we survived. Children learn early that survival is intertwined with cooperation. Skills are shared, stories are passed down, and traditions ensure that knowledge does not vanish with a single generation. Dialogue and human emotion. "Mama, I'm scared the snow will bury us tonight," Anya whispers, clutching her blanket tight. Her mother squeezes her hand. "I know it's frightening, dear, but we are ready. Every log, every fur, every piece of food is for this moment. We have each other. That is stronger than any snowstorm." Her father adds, checking the fire. "Every storm teaches us something. Every challenge makes us stronger. The snow is harsh, but we are harsher in the way we care for each other and survive together." The child nods slowly, feeling both the terror outside and the deep warmth of family inside. The morning after a blizzard is quiet in an eerie way. The world feels suspended, as if holding its breath. Snow covers the land in a uniform white, erasing footprints, hiding familiar landmarks, and forcing families to start again, cautiously, step by step. Survival is not just about enduring the storm. It's about navigating the aftermath with care, knowledge, and unwavering attention. Families emerge from their homes, doors creaking under the weight of ice, furs rustling in the cold air. Children tread carefully, learning early that missteps can be dangerous. Their breaths form clouds in the frozen air, merging with the lingering mist from fires inside cabins. Every movement is deliberate. Every glance counts. Intimate family survival stories. Take the case of old Nikolai, whose left hand was frostbitten during a late winter blizzard. He recalls, "I was careless. Thought I could finish chopping the last stack of wood before dusk. The wind came suddenly. I didn't feel my fingers until later. That night, my family warmed me slowly, rubbed the circulation back into my hand. I learned the lesson the hard way." Children gather around listening. Stories like these are lessons disguised as memories. They teach respect for the cold, patience, and the importance of family care. No one is invincible, and the stakes are harsh teachers. Coping with extreme blizzards. Blizzards arrive with little warning, stripping visibility and leaving families trapped in isolation. During one such storm, the Petrov family recounts, "We could hear the wind tearing across the plains. It felt alive, trying to find its way into the cabin. We sat close together, stoking the fire, feeding embers, rationing food. Every hour, every breath, every check on the animals mattered. Fear was constant, but so was determination. The storm teaches vigilance. The cold sharpens senses. Families anticipate, plan, and adapt. They ration energy and resources carefully, alternating watch shifts to ensure that nothing is neglected. Every sound outside is analyzed, every change in temperature observed, every movement weighed for risk and necessity. Frostbite, injury, and recovery. Physical challenges in the frontier are unavoidable. Frostbite, hypothermia, and minor injuries occur often. Families become experts in early detection and treatment. Warm cloths, heated stones, and careful massage restore circulation. Knowledge of the human body becomes as vital as knowledge of snow or wind. "Lena, your toes feel numb," warns her mother one morning. "We need to warm them slowly, not rush it, or it will worsen." The slow, deliberate care demonstrates a profound lesson. Survival is not just enduring, it is careful, empathetic action.
Children learn that life is fragile but manageable with knowledge, patience, and attention.
Community support and collective strength. The frozen frontier is harsh, but community provides resilience. Neighbors share firewood, food, and labor. When storms destroy a roof or trap supplies, families work together to repair damage, pool resources, and provide mutual comfort. Survival is never solitary. "We helped the Kovalenko family repair their roof," Sergei recalls. "They shared smoked meat with us in return. It wasn't about trade, it was about keeping each other alive. Alone, any of us could fail. Together, we endure." Cultural rituals reinforce this connection. Shared meals, storytelling, and music provide not only warmth but identity. Festivals or commemorations, even in small ways, remind families that life is more than survival. It is living in harmony with one another and the land. Dialogue and human emotion. "Papa, what if the snow never stops?" little Ivan asks, eyes wide with worry. His father lifts him onto his lap, wrapping him in layers of furs. "It will stop, my son, and if it doesn't, we will endure it. Together, always. That is what the frontier teaches us." "Mama, the fire feels weak," Anya adds, peering into the stove. Her mother smiles reassuringly. "Then we feed it, carefully. Every ember counts. Remember, strength comes from careful work, patience, and hope." The children listen, learning courage through words and example, feeling the weight of responsibility, yet comforted by the safety of family. Cultural practices and traditions. Despite the harsh climate, families maintain rituals that strengthen morale. Traditional songs are sung around the fire, teaching history and values. Children learn to braid wool, mend clothes, and prepare food using methods passed down through generations. These practices are not mere decoration. They are survival tools. Knowledge of tradition blends with practical skill, reinforcing both human resilience and cultural identity. Even in isolation, life has rhythm, purpose, and meaning. Evening reflection and lessons learned. As night falls, cabins glow warmly, a stark contrast to the icy darkness outside. Families sit close, sharing stories, laughter, and reflections on the day. The blizzards, frostbite, and challenges of survival become part of a larger narrative, a story of endurance, human ingenuity, and love. Every storm teaches us something, a father reflects aloud. Every frostbite, every lost day, every success, it shapes us, teaches us respect for the land and for each other.
We endure because we must, and because we care for one another.
Children absorb these lessons slowly, understanding not just words, but the weight of human connection and the importance of preparation, care, and empathy.
Family bonding and emotional resilience.
The cold has a strange way of testing people. Not just the body, but the heart. When the temperature outside sinks below anything a normal person could imagine, life inside the wooden houses becomes something sacred.
A place where warmth isn't created by a fireplace alone, but by people. Families in these frozen regions learn early that happiness is not a luxury, it is a survival skill. Some mornings begin with silence, not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind. The kind that makes you acutely aware of the snow pressing against the walls, the wind scratching like claws across the frozen windows. Yet inside, someone is humming, softly, a tune passed down from a grandmother, a melody that has no beginning and no end. A tune meant to remind everyone that winter can freeze the earth, but not the soul. Inside these homes, life beats slowly but surely. A mother wraps a blanket around her child and whispers, "Stay close." Not just because it's cold, but because staying close keeps us human. And the child nods. Because in places where the sun doesn't rise for weeks, even a nod can feel like a promise. The father prepares the morning fire. His hands tremble, not from fear, but from the cold that has seeped into his bones over the years. Still, he smiles. He always smiles in the morning. Fire needs patience, just like everything else. And the children watch him carefully, almost ceremonially, as if this simple act of lighting fire is a lesson in endurance. But the true warmth comes later, when everyone gathers around the single wooden table, steam rising from bowls of porridge, a faint glow from the oil lamp flickering across their faces, and laughter, small, hesitant at first, then full and carefree. In a land where the earth is frozen, laughter is an act of courage. The wind was quieter at night. These victories seem silly to outsiders. But when you live in a place where nature tries to break you every single day, the small things are everything. There's a particular kind of bonding that forms in these harsh lands. A closeness that doesn't always need words. A father fixing a child's mitten without saying anything. A sister brushing snow off her brother's jacket with a quiet smile. A grandmother knitting socks long after her fingers have lost their strength. A boy placing an extra log by the fire because he noticed his mother shiver. These things, these tiny gestures, are what hold them together. In this cold world, love is practical. If someone is late returning from outside chores, the whole house waits by the window. If someone coughs at night, a hand reaches out in the darkness. If someone cries, nobody asks why. They simply whisper, "I'm here." Here. Because, in the extreme cold, emotional warmth isn't just comfort. It is protection. Some nights, when the storm howls like a living creature, families gather together and talk. Not about the cold, not about the struggle, but about memories. Warm memories. A father talks about the summer he once experienced in a distant city where snow never touched the ground. A mother describes the day she first held her newborn child, the warmth of that moment stronger than any fire. Grandparents tell stories of long-lost traditions. Plot twists, jokes, heartbreaks, old stories that make new memories. Everyone listens, because stories are not just stories here. They are survival. They remind people who they are. They remind children that life isn't always this cold. They remind adults why they keep fighting. And they remind the elderly that even in their final winters, they have given warmth to everyone around them. That is the spirit of these frozen lands, a spirit that refuses to give up,
And yet, there is something even deeper, something almost invisible. Hope. Hope that tomorrow the wind will be gentler, hope that the firewood will last, hope that the family will stay healthy, hope that the world outside, though frozen and merciless, cannot take away their humanity. Children especially carry this hope effortlessly. You can see it in the way they wake up eager, in the way they giggle even when their breath forms icy clouds, in the way they press their hands on the frosted windows and draw little hearts on the glass. Vast white world outside, tiny beating heart inside. Sometimes a child asks, "Mama, why do we live here? Why not somewhere warm?" And the mother smiles. Not the easy smile, the brave one. The one that hides truths too heavy for young shoulders. "We stay," she says, "because this is home, and home is not a place, it's the people in it." Those words settle into the air like warmth itself. A father might add, "The cold keeps us strong, but love keeps us alive." And everyone nods, because they know it's true. When you step outside, the world is sharp and unforgiving. But when you step back in and see your family sitting close, bundled together, sharing food, stories, and hope, you realize something. The cold built the walls of this land, but love built the home. Children's games, storytelling, traditions, and mental resilience in isolation. Night in the frozen frontier comes early, sometimes too early, sometimes so early that it feels like the world forgot to give them a day at all. The sky darkens, the wind thickens, and the silence, that strange, heavy silence, settles over everything like a second layer of snow. But inside those wooden homes, inside those cabins held together with nails, rope, and hope, life doesn't dim. It glows. Fire crackles. Tea steams. Blankets wrap around shoulders like comforting old friends. And in that tiny circle of warmth, the real magic begins. The magic that keeps these families human. Children's games in a land of endless winter. Children in harsh, icy regions grow up differently. Yet strangely, they find joy in ways most people never imagine. Their games aren't made of shiny toys or digital screens. Have. Whatever they have. A piece of carved wood becomes a sled. A stray rope becomes a game of tug. Icicles become pretend swords. Dangerous, yes, but thrilling for a child who sees the world through adventure-filled eyes. Sometimes they build little snow forts. Not perfect ones. Not smooth or symmetrical. Just small enough for them to hide inside and pretend they're warriors guarding a kingdom. And even though the cold stings their cheeks and turns their noses red, they laugh. Loud, fearless laughter. Laughter that echoes across the frozen fields like a rebellion against winter itself. Inside the house, the games are gentler. A girl might take a piece of cloth, wrap it around a wooden doll, and whisper stories of faraway summers. A boy might draw shapes on the fogged-up window, imagining forests, rivers, and cities that he has never seen, but dreams of seeing someday. Rare nights when the firewood lasts longer than expected. The whole family joins. They play memory games, riddle games, guessing games, games that require imagination instead of equipment. "Close your eyes," the father says. "Tell me what you hear." One child says, "The wind." Another says, "The fire." A third whispers, "I hear Mama breathing." And the mother smiles, because even a child's simple observation can warm the coldest room. Storytelling, the soul of the frontier. But the greatest tradition, the one that holds these families together stronger than rope, stronger than nails, is storytelling. Stories are not just entertainment here. They are a lifeline. When the blizzards rage outside and the snow climbs like a living beast along the walls, families gather close and listen to voices that pull them into other worlds. Oldest stories. Stories that smell like the past. Stories shaped by hardship, carried by generations. A grandfather clears his throat and begins. "There was a winter even colder than this one." And immediately every face turns toward him. Every eye widens. Every heartbeat slows down to match the rhythm of his words. A grandmother might talk about the spirits of the land. Not frightening spirits, but wise ones. protectors who watched over their ancestors through storms. Parents tell stories too, some of survival, some of mistakes, some of triumphs, some humorous, some painful. But the best stories, the ones that shine the brightest, are the ones about love. A father might tell the story of how he first met the mother, how she smiled even though it was the coldest day of the year, how that smile warmed him more than any fire ever could. Giggle. Papa, tell it again. And even though he has told the same story 100 times, he tells it again, because in these lands, repetition is comfort. Sometimes the children tell stories too. Wild stories, chaotic stories, stories with wolves that fly, and rivers of hot chocolate, and snowflakes that talk. And the adults listen. They listen seriously, because imagination is precious here. It keeps the mind alive when the world outside feels overwhelmingly still. Traditions that preserve warmth. Traditions hold special power in places where the environment tries to erase identity. Some families light a candle each night for someone far away. Some hum a winter song that only their village knows. Some prepare a special soup once a week, not because it's delicious, but because it is familiar. There is a tradition where the oldest child reads aloud from a faded hand stitched. The pages may be cracked, the ink faint, but the words ignite something deep inside the family. Sometimes the mother bakes bread, even when ingredients are scarce. Because, she says, the smell of bread can save a day. Sometimes siblings braid each other's hair or repair each other's mittens. Not a chore, a way of saying, we need each other. And every winter, at least once, no matter how cold or dangerous, families step outside together. They stand in the snow, look up at the pale sky, breathe in the sharp air, and remind themselves that they are stronger than the storm. Traditions don't just preserve culture, they preserve courage. Mental health in isolation, the invisible battle. Extreme cold tests more than skin and bone. It tests the mind. Isolation sinks into people like slow frost. Days blur, nights stretch endlessly. Small rooms. Some mornings, people wake with heavy hearts. Not sadness, not fear, just heaviness. A weight they can't explain. And that's when families step in. A mother notices before anyone speaks. She places a warm cup between trembling hands and says, "You don't have to be strong today. Sit with me." A father returns early from his chores when he senses something is wrong. He doesn't ask for explanations. Instead, he says, "Come help me chop wood." Not because I need help. Because I need company. Siblings keep watch, too. If one of them grows quiet, the others sit closer. Closer than necessary. Close enough to say, "You're not alone." This is what keeps people alive in isolation. Not food, not fire, but presence, human presence. Even silence becomes healing when shared. Some nights, the entire family stays awake together. Not talking, just existing in the same warm space, breathing the same air, waiting for the storm inside to pass, as the storm outside rages on. Mental resilience in these lands is not about never breaking. It is about breaking and then rebuilding together. A warmth beyond the physical. There is a moment families in these cold lands know well, when someone stands up to place another log in the fire. The flames rise, shadows dance, faces glow. Brief second. Despite the endless winter outside, it feels like spring lives inside the room. Because warmth is not something you survive on. Warmth is something you share. A shared blanket, a shared story, a shared secret, a shared fear, a shared hope. In the frozen frontier, survival is a team effort. No one survives alone. Not physically, not emotionally. The cold is powerful, but the spirit of these families, that unbreakable, unstoppable, stubborn spirit, is warmer than any fire ever built. And that warmth, that love, is what carries them through the longest nights. Reflection on human ingenuity and adaptation. There are places in this world where winter doesn't just visit. It rules. It governs every breath, every choice, every hesitation. And yet, people survived there. Not just survived. They lived, loved, laughed, dreamed. When we talk about frozen lands, Arctic villages, Yakutian towns, frontier outposts buried under endless snow, we aren't just talking about geography. We are talking about humanity at its rawest. Stripped of comfort, stripped of convenience, stripped of anything unnecessary. What remains is the truth. The truth about what people are capable of. Ingenuity born from necessity. In those frozen frontiers, innovation didn't come from textbooks or universities. It came from cold fingers, empty cupboards, and storms that refused to stop. Imagine a man waking up before the sun, not because he wants to, but because the fire is dying. He steps onto the icy floor, his breath hanging in the air like smoke. He checks the woodpile. Too low. Most people would panic. He doesn't. His ancestors taught him better. He wraps a coat around his shoulders, steps outside into the biting darkness, and chops the day's firewood. He swings the axe not with aggression, but with rhythm. The same rhythm his father used, and his father's father before that. This is ingenuity. No machines, no instructions, just the understanding of what must be done to keep life going. Women showed an equal brilliance. They learned how to preserve food so that a single thatch could feed a family through months with no sunlight. They learned to stitch clothing that could block winds strong enough to peel paint from wood. They learned which herbs could heal frostbite, fever, or loneliness. Nothing was wasted. Not just about survival. It was about becoming part of the land itself. The emotional discipline of the frontier. People in warm places often think strength is loud, big, bold, but in the frozen frontier, strength is quiet, a gentle discipline of the heart. A mother's calm voice during a storm that shakes the walls. A father's steady hands as he mends a broken sled. A child's silent acceptance when food runs low, sharing their portion without a word. There were no motivational speeches, no dramatic declarations, just quiet understanding. The understanding that fear is natural, but stopping is not an option. And that tiny flame inside, the one that refuses to die, is sometimes the only warmth the family has. Patience, the unspoken rule of survival. Winter teaches the value of patience more than anything else. You cannot rush fire. You cannot rush thaw. Cannot rush daylight. Families learn to wait. Wait for storms to pass. Wait for the ice to settle. Wait for the wind to quiet. And in that waiting, something beautiful happened. They learned to appreciate moments that most people ignore. The sound of boots drying by the fire. The first sip of warm tea after a long freezing day. The soft glow of morning light after a week of darkness. The laughter of children echoing through the cabin. These weren't luxuries. These were lifelines. How the land shaped character. Every landscape shapes its people, but frozen lands, they sculpt them. Here, honesty wasn't optional. If you said you'd bring wood, you brought wood. If you said you'd return by sunset, you returned. Promises weren't words. They were survival plans. People here became durable, not easily broken, resourceful, making much from the little they had. Little, grateful, cherishing anything warm, loyal, because you needed each other. Brave, because fear came daily. Humble, because nature always wins the argument. The cold stripped away pride, ego, pretense. It revealed who people really were. Lessons modern life has forgotten. Today's world is loud, rushed, restless. People complain about slow Wi-Fi, long lines, lukewarm coffee. But in the frozen frontier, people woke up thankful, simply because the roof didn't collapse under the snow. What did they teach us? Comfort is temporary, character is permanent. Warm rooms don't build strong hearts. Hardship does. The small things are the real things. Warm socks, a shared blanket, a single candle burning through a long night. Those were victories. People matter more than possessions. A fur coat can keep you warm, but a loving family keeps you alive. Don't fight nature. Learn from it. The cold wasn't an enemy to defeat. It was a teacher to understand. Hope is a survival tool. Not a luxury, not a decoration, a necessity. But perhaps the greatest lesson is this: you don't need perfect conditions to live a meaningful life. People in the frozen lands didn't wait for perfect weather, perfect health, perfect resources. They lived anyway. They smiled anyway. They loved anyway. Because life isn't measured in degrees, it's measured in courage. The frontier mind. A different way of thinking. In isolated snowy regions, people think differently. When something breaks, they don't say who will fix it. They say, how do we fix it? When the weather turns deadly, they don't panic. They prepare. When a neighbor's roof collapses, they don't wait for help. They become the help. Their minds became sharp, adaptable, flexible, ready for change, ready for danger, ready for tomorrow. And the astonishing thing? They weren't superheroes. They were ordinary people doing extraordinary things because the world demanded it.
Enduring values, survival wisdom, and
Closing thoughts. There's something unforgettable about the final days of winter in the frozen frontier. Not because the cold goes away. It doesn't. Not quickly. Not politely. The unforgettable part is the people. Their resilience. Their warmth. Their strange, quiet confidence that somehow, someday, the sun will return, even after months of darkness. But before the first rays of spring touch the snow, families gather inside their wooden homes and reflect. They talk, not with pride, but with honesty. They count not what they lost, but what they gained. And what they gained is wisdom. Hard-earned, frost-bitten, silently endured wisdom. The unseen strengths that survival creates. Most people think strength is something you can see. Muscles, loud voices, bold words. But the frozen lands teach a different definition. Strength is a woman waking up at 4 a.m. to keep the fire alive. Strength is a father silently giving his portion of food to his children. Strength is a child walking 2 miles through snow for school, because learning is the only path out. Strength is a grandmother who has lived through 40 winters and still believes the next one will be better. And sometimes, strength is the ability to sit in silence without falling apart. The cold forces you to know yourself. It strips away excuses. It strips away lies. It strips away everything you can hide behind. What remains is the truth, and the truth is often stronger than you think. Values forged in ice. These frozen communities didn't just survive winter. They built an entire moral code around it. Responsibility. Everyone has a role. Everyone matters. If one person doesn't bring firewood, everyone feels the cold. If one person forgets to check the traps, everyone eats less. Responsibility becomes more than a duty. It becomes love in action. Discipline. Winter doesn't care whether you're tired. The storm doesn't care whether you're sad. Snow doesn't melt because you're overwhelmed. People here learn to do things even when they didn't want to. Even when their hands shook. Even when their hearts were weary. Generosity. If a neighbor's fire dies, you share yours. If a hunting trip fails, you divide your own catch. If a family loses someone to the cold, the entire village becomes their shelter. There's no mine and yours. Gratitude, warm bread, a working lantern, a day without strong wind, a quiet evening when the walls don't shake, small blessings, massive meaning, perseverance, not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind, the kind that keeps you moving when your feet hurt, the kind that keeps you hopeful when the sun hasn't risen in days, the kind that whispers, you can do one more step. These values aren't taught in schools. They're taught by wind, by ice, by necessity. The frontier mindset, a legacy passed down. Children raised in these lands carry something rare into adulthood, a sense of grounded confidence. Not arrogance, not pride, just the calm understanding that hard things can be survived. They grow up knowing how to fix things before replacing them, how to endure discomfort without complaining, how to support others without being asked, how to work with patience, not panic. One day, long after they leave the frozen home of their childhood, they face a challenge, a job loss, a heartbreak, a failure, start to crumble. But they don't. Not because they're stronger, but because they've walked through worse. The cold became their teacher, and the lessons stayed forever. How modern lives can learn from these lands. Today's world is warm, comfortable, convenient. Yet people feel more fragile than ever. One bad day breaks them. One harsh comment ruins their mood. One setback makes them quit. Maybe we lost something when we left hardship behind. Frozen lands remind us that discomfort builds endurance. Endurance builds confidence. Confidence builds life. You don't need blizzards to grow this mindset. You need discipline, purpose, connection, silence. Moments where life demands more from you than you expected. You need to push yourself, not because life is punishing, but because life is calling. Rise. Moments that kept people going. Even in the harshest winters, frontier families found warmth in unexpected places. And these moments, they matter. A cup of warm soup shared between siblings, half a bowl each, but it tasted like a feast. A lantern blowing through the longest night. A reminder that light still exists. A story told by an elder about a winter harsher than this one and how they survived it. A family huddled together under one blanket, not because the blanket was big, but because their togetherness was. A child's laughter, bright and sudden, cutting through the cold like a flame. These moments didn't change the temperature, but they changed people. They gave them strength when strength was running out. The deepest lesson, warmth comes from within. People always think survival in the frozen lands is about fire, shelter, clothing, food. And yes, those matter. But ask anyone who has lived through a brutal winter, and they will tell you, what truly keeps you alive is not the fire in the stove, but the fire in the heart. Families survived because they stayed close. Communities survived because they stayed united. Humans survived because they cared for each other more than the cold could hurt them. In the end, the frozen frontier teaches one final truth. Cold tests the body, but loneliness freezes the soul. Warmth is not just heat. It is connection, presence, compassion, hope. These are the real fireplaces of life. Closing thoughts, the world is cold, but we don't have to be. When we look at frozen lands from afar, we see danger. We see lifeless white plains. We see impossible conditions. But the people who lived there, they saw something entirely different. They saw beauty, challenge, community, purpose, growth, stories worth telling. They learned that life doesn't have to be easy to be meaningful. It just has to be lived with heart. And maybe that is the greatest lesson of all. No matter how cold the world becomes, there is always warmth inside us. As long as we carry it, the cold can never win.